Have you ever looked around and thought, wait a minute, why do bad things happen to good people? Or maybe even, why do the arrogant and wicked seem to have it all figured out? They're healthy, wealthy, and seem to live without a care in the world. While you're over here trying to do the right thing and facing struggle after struggle, if that sounds familiar, you're not alone. In fact, a guy named Asaph wrote about this exact feeling thousands of years ago in the book of Psalms. Let's dive into Psalm 73. Asaph starts by saying his feet almost slipped. He was so close to giving up on his faith. Why? Because he was envious of the arrogant. He saw them prospering, free from the usual burdens of life. They wore pride like a necklace and violence like a fancy coat. Their mouths spoke against heaven, and they scoffed and plotted. He says they have no struggles. Their bodies are healthy and strong. Meanwhile, Asaph is thinking, surely in vain, I have kept my heart pure and have washed my hands in innocence. All day long I have been afflicted, and every morning brings new punishments. Man, can you feel the raw honesty in that? It's a feeling so many of us can relate to. He was on the verge of losing hope, thinking that living a righteous life was pointless. But then, everything changed for him. The turning point wasn't when their circumstances got worse, but when his perspective shifted. He says this turmoil continued till I entered the sanctuary of God. Then I understood their final destiny. In that moment of worship and getting close to God, he saw the bigger picture. He realized that the prosperity of the wicked was temporary, set on a slippery path leading to ruin. God would suddenly cast them down to destruction. It was like waking up from a dream. He saw that their success was an illusion, a fleeting moment. After this revelation, Asaph's heart transformed from envy to gratitude. He realized how bitter and grieved he had been, acting like a brute beast, not understanding God's ways. But even in his doubt, God was always with him, holding his hand, guiding him. He concludes with one of the most beautiful declarations of faith. Whom have I in heaven but you? And earth has nothing I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. He understood that true wealth wasn't earthly possessions, but having God himself. That's a powerful shift, isn't it? From near despair to complete trust. Now, let's look at Psalm 74. The tone here is a bit different. It's not a personal crisis of faith like in 73, but a national one. The psalmist is crying out to God, asking, why have you rejected us forever? The sanctuary, the very place where Asaph found his clarity, has been destroyed by enemies. They burned it to the ground, smashed its beautiful carvings, and set up their own banners. The psalmist is heartbroken, looking at the desolation and seeing no signs from God, no prophets, no one who knows how long this will last. He's asking God, how long will the enemy mock you, Lord? Will the foe revile your name forever? It feels like God is hiding his face, like he's withdrawn his hand. The psalmist is basically pleading with God to remember his people and his covenant. He reminds God of his mighty deeds in the past. How he split the sea, crushed the heads of Leviathan, and established the sun and the moon. He's saying, God, you did all these amazing things before. You are the king. Don't you see what's happening now? Rise up and defend your cause. But even in this desperate plea, there's a foundation of faith. The psalmist doesn't just complain. He appeals to God's character and his past promises. He's reminding God and himself of who God is. He's holding on to the belief that God is a covenant-keeping God who will not abandon his people forever. He ends by asking God to remember the taunts of the enemy and not hand over the life of his dove as people to wild beasts. It's a cry for justice and a plea for intervention, rooted in a deep, though tested faith. So, what can we take from these two powerful psalms? Psalm 73 teaches us that when we're struggling with doubt and envy, we need to shift our perspective. We need to enter the sanctuary, whether that's a church, a quiet place of prayer, or reading the Bible to see things from an eternal viewpoint. It reminds us that God is our ultimate treasure. And Psalm 74 shows us that it's okay to cry out to God in our pain and confusion, to question him and to remind him of his promises. It teaches us to be honest about our hurt, while still holding on to who we know God to be. Both Psalms are incredibly human, full of raw emotion, and they guide us back to the truth that even when life doesn't make sense, God is our strength, our portion, and our King forever. Thanks for joining me today. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that dives deep into these ancient texts. See you next time.